Hello, dear students and esteemed learners. Welcome again. This is the third week of our course on Sociology of Health, and today we are having our 12th lecture. And the topic that I have selected for today's lecture is traditional medicine, complementary medicine, and World Health Organization. So, in this broader topic, I've covered few important concepts and points. Let me talk about those points also. We have included World Health Organization's concepts of traditional medicine, and then again WHO's traditional medicine strategy, then the concept of complementary and alternative medicine, then the declaration of Astana, and then brief comments or points from the World Health Organization global report on traditional and complementary medicine. So we will try to understand all these things, and let me share with you that in the previous lectures we talked about some kind of dynamics of the growth of the health institutions. Now that dynamics would be visible because on the one side we have a dominant system of medicine which is known as biomedicine. We have extensively tried to understand that. And on the other side, we are having the indigenous systems of medicine which have developed in different cultures and which are often identified as traditional medicine. So, some kind of underlying conflict is going on which is never visible from the top or externally, but as we will go through some of the concepts, we will get an idea about what is going on within the larger ecosystem of health and medicine in terms of some of the nomenclatures and some of the narratives. So, this way we will try to understand certain facts related to the traditional medicines, primarily how the things have been seen at the level of the World Health Organization and what kind of narratives basically are building up within the system. So let's go to the first slide. First, we'll try to understand what is traditional medicine. Uh, because of our exposure to our day-to-day life, we are often exposed to some or the other types of traditional medicine. Because in India, we are very familiar with the concepts of Ayurveda or Unani or homeopathic medicine almost in all the states. So these are basically the traditional medicines. But how do World Health Organization define traditional medicine and what are the other related concepts? That is something that we need to understand factually, and that is why I have taken most of the definitions from the website of the World Health Organization because those are applicable globally and those are very relevant, very important concepts. Let's talk about all these one by one. Traditional medicine. According to World Health Organization, traditional medicine is the sum total of the knowledge, skill, and practices. Sum total of the knowledge, skill, and practices based on the theories, beliefs, and experiences indigenous to different cultures, whether explicable or not, used in the maintenance of health as well as in the prevention, diagnosis, improvement, or treatment of physical and mental illnesses. So, there are so many important points in this broader definition, and we need to have some sort of understanding about all these things. First, that the traditional medicine is indigenous to different culture. So, if you talk about India, so those medicines which developed in India, those will be identified as traditional medicine in Indian context because these are indigenous to Indian society. Just like that, if a particular medicine or system of medicine developed in China, that will become indigenous in China, right? Now, there is another important thing here, whether explicable or not. So it is not necessary, as per the WHO definition, that there should be some kind of scientific explanation available for that kind of practices which are basically used. So explicable or not is a very important component of this definition. But if that is used in the maintenance of health as well as in the prevention, diagnosis, and improvement or treatment of physical and mental illness, right? So, whether that is used for treatment of physical illness or that is used for the treatment of mental illness, and if that has been used in that particular context, and if people have some kind of association with that, they have some kind of trust, then that will be identified as a traditional medicine. Now, a traditional medicine which is not indigenous for a particular country. For example, if you talk about Ayurveda in a different country, so whether it will be considered traditional medicine in that country also. Here we have another concept, that is of complementary medicine or alternative medicine. The terms complementary medicine or alternative medicine refer to a broad set of healthcare practices that are not part of that country's own tradition or conventional medicine and are not fully integrated into the dominant healthcare system. They are used interchangeably with the traditional medicine in some countries. So basically, when a traditional medicine is not indigenous in that particular country or not part of the conventional medicine in that particular country's context, then it may be considered or it will be identified as a complementary medicine or alternative medicine. Now, again, here there are two different terms. One is complementary medicine and another is alternative medicine. We need to understand these two terms also. Complementary medicine is used in addition to standard treatments. So, you can see that there is a word conventional medicine while we have defined complementary medicine. So, conventional medicine is primarily used for the biomedicine or the modern Western medicine or allopathic medicine in contemporary context. So, when a particular system of medicine is not part of that conventional medicine, it may be considered as complementary medicine. However, a complementary medicine is used in addition to standard treatment. For example, in lots of cases, for example, even in the cases of COVID, we almost most of the people have been using different systems of medicine for enhancing immunity or for promoting health. I was personally making use of the Ayurvedic and the homeopathic medicines. So many people all over the world have been using some of those things. So these are in addition to the conventional medicine, and those are labeled as complementary medicine. Now there is another term or nomenclature that is known as traditional and complementary medicine that I have mentioned at the bottom of the slide. Traditional and complementary medicine merges the term traditional medicine and complementary medicine, encompassing product, practices, and practitioners. So when we identify the traditional medicine and complementary medicine together, that becomes T&CM. Now this is a very popular nomenclature. Then we have the World Health Organization's strategy for traditional medicine. Now we will see why there was a need of traditional medicine and why WHO basically prescribed a strategy for this. These are very important. The WHO Traditional Medicine Strategy 2014-23 was developed and launched in response to the World Health Assembly's resolution on traditional medicine. The strategy aims to support member states in developing proactive policies and implementing action plans that will strengthen the role traditional medicine plays in keeping population healthy. So the larger goal of traditional medicine is to keep the population healthy, and then the World Health Organization the strategy of the World Health Organization is to strengthen that traditional medicine. Now, this strategy includes three different points. First, to build the knowledge base for active management of traditional and complementary medicine through appropriate national policies. Now, national policies are very important basically because we have been saying that traditional medicines are practiced in the context of a specific nations or culture. So, whether that particular system of medicine is finding support within the national policies of that particular government or not. So, that is very important. And so, it talks about the appropriate national policies in support of the TCM. Then, to strengthen the quality assurance, safety, proper use, and effectiveness of T&CM. Now, there is a critique of TCM also that they are not often considered as based on certain evidences, especially by the biomedicine people. They are basically the critique of T&CM very often. So there are issues related to safety, then use and effectiveness, etc. Because we have already stated that explicable or not. So again, there are issues related to these things. And so the WHO strategy talks about strengthening all these components. Then the question is, how can they strengthen these aspects? And for this, the answer is regulating product practices and practitioners. Some kind of regulation is required. So basically, national policies and the programs will strengthen these practices and at the same time will increase the regulation so that the quality could be maintained. And then the next important point is to promote universal health coverage by integrating T&CM services into the healthcare service delivery and self health care. Now, this is again very important. Here, we are talking about a new concept, that is universal health coverage. This is a very broader framework. It talks about giving coverage to all citizens of the world, rather all people of the world, so that they can meet the health related requirements. The Alma Ata Declaration 1978, you may remember, talked about health for all. So now there is cost of healthcare also, and there is some kind of cost of the out of pocket expenditure that often creates a catastrophic impact on the users of that kind of healthcare. The high cost basically is creating some kind of catastrophic impact. And so the World Health Organization and global agencies are basically concerned about how to minimize that cost. And for that, basically, one of the important provisions are here within the strategy for the traditional medicine. And so now you can see the larger context to promote universal health coverage by integrating TCM services into healthcare service delivery. That means if we include TCM within the broader healthcare service delivery, then it will help in minimizing not only the cost but also extending the manpower or the human resources available within the healthcare system and also simultaneously for the self-care. So this is the strategy at length. Then alternative medicine. Now we have already understood that the traditional medicine is often considered as alternative medicine also in a country where it is not indigenous. But there is something more than that. So let's talk about it at length. The use of drugs or therapies that are not supported by allopathic medicine are generally identified as or labeled as alternative medicine, right? The use of drugs here means medicines basically. So medicines and therapies that are not supported by allopathic medicine, these are generally identified as alternative medicine, but by whom? By the biomedical approach. That is very important. Not everybody is considering this as alternative medicine, but the biomedical approach or biomedical perspective or the followers of the biomedical perspective, they consider these as alternative medicine. The best known are homeopathy, chiropractic, osteopathy, then acupuncture and herbalism. Though in popular use, the practice of alternative medicine extends to self-administered vitamin supplements. So this alternative medicine in general is used for administrating the vitamin supplements or for the supplementary kind of health requirements, right? And that is why the complementary medicine is also used for this. But here we are talking about the phrase alternative medicine. Now, there is another very important point here. The definition of a healthcare practice as alternative is a political and economic accomplishment of orthodox medicine. Orthodox medicine here again refers to the conventional medicine or the biomedical medicine, but primarily those terminologies are avoided, keeping in mind the kind of the power structure, something that we discussed earlier. And Foucault is also talking about the kind of power structure or power relationship which are operating within the institutions and among the institutions. So you need to keep in mind that kind of power equation among or between these systems of medicine also. The definition of healthcare practice as alternative is a political and economic accomplishment of orthodox medicine. It results in specific national struggles by these alternative practitioners to resist this designation. That means the practitioners of the traditional medicine, they resist this nomenclature of alternative medicine and to obtain a state license to practice. And so they do not prefer the term alternative medicine to be used for them, and they basically work for obtaining a state license, that means permission from the state or the national government for making use of that. For example, in Australia, chiropractic is legally recognized as a form of medicine, while in the UK, homeopathy is recognized, right? That means the traditional medicines are getting some kind of recognition in different countries. And in India also, we have recognition for different medicines, which are often identified as traditional medicine. Paradoxically, alternative medicine shares many of the characteristics of orthodox medicine, seeing disease as natural, focusing on the individual rather than the social factors as the source of disease. However, there is certain commonality also between these traditional medicines and the biomedicine, which is generally labeled as orthodox medicine or conventional medicine to avoid the name the biomedical, right? But we are trying to understand the larger phenomenon. That is why we are talking about these things. And we don't have any conflict of interest also. And these are the views which are actually expressed in White, right? 2006, basically, right? I've already mentioned some of these references in our previous slides, so you can check the name of the book and all those things. However, even in this book, the views represented the work of the another author, which is Fudler, and they have written it in the Handbook of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, right? So whatever we are saying here, that is based on certain verifiable sources, right? Then comes the very important Declaration of Astana. Here, I have highlighted several important things because we need to understand the Declaration of Astana and its importance also. The Global Conference on Primary Healthcare, which took place in Astana in October 2018. Now, what is the significance of this conference? The significance of this conference is that this is on primary healthcare. Now, you may remember earlier we talked about the Alma Ata Declaration of 1978 that first defined the primary healthcare also, right? And the primary healthcare was talking about some kind of holistic care. So, extending that argument, this Astana Declaration is talking about linking the concept of primary healthcare with the larger goal of universal health coverage and the goals of sustainable development goals, the SDGs, right? We'll talk about the SDGs in separate lectures. Basically, sustainable development goals or SDG are the global goals adopted for the period 2015 to 2030. You will be aware of this. And before that, we had the MDGs, that is the Millennium Development Goals, which were adopted for the period of 2000 to 2015. So these are some of the developments which are there at global level. And this Astana declaration is trying to link the notion of primary healthcare with these larger goals. Now, why do we need to talk about these things now? We will discuss these points very briefly now. The Declaration of Astana made clear that the success of primary healthcare will be driven by applying scientific as well as traditional knowledge and extending access to a range of healthcare services which include traditional medicine. So the Astana Declaration realizes that access is a broader problem. So even if there are healthcare services available, but access to those healthcare facilities is not available to good proportion of people. And so for making healthcare accessible and even affordable, there is a need to include and improve and extend the healthcare services, and that traditional medicine can play a very important role. So this Astana Declaration talks about inclusion of the traditional medicine in the broader healthcare service. Now, there is a full-fledged report on this issue related to traditional and complementary medicine. Traditional and complementary medicine is an important and often underestimated health resource with many applications, especially in the prevention and management of lifestyle related chronic disease and in meeting the health needs of aging population. Now, there are different types of challenges emerging within the world. Now, one specific challenge is related to the increase in the life expectancy of people, and because of the increase in the life expectancy of people may need some kind of supplementary healthcare services. So increasing life expectancy is a global goal, and we can understand that when life expectancy will increase, then the burden on the healthcare services will also increase. And so we need to prepare the world for that extension of the healthcare services also, and not only extension of that, but also the management related to that, so that the problems related to old age could be addressed appropriately, and simultaneously the lifestyle related disease, and especially the chronic disease which persists for a longer period of time and which may need the attention of the healthcare providers for a longer period of time. So there are certain health related issues emerging globally, and it is basically necessary to address those problems. And so how can WHO provide some sort of support to address some of this problem? About these issues this report is actually talking about. The report reviews global progress in traditional and complementary medicine over the past 2 decades and is based on contribution from 179 WHO member states. Right? So 179 is a very high number of member states. That means it is almost accepted, almost unanimously, but not exactly unanimously, but because it is enjoying the support of a larger number of the member states. It clearly shows that more and more countries are recognizing the role of TCM in their national health system. Now, the foreword of this report is very important. I have quoted certain sentences from this foreword. Let us try to understand what is mentioned over there. Many countries are seeking to expand coverage of essential health services at a time when consumer expectations for care are rising, costs are soaring, and most budgets are either stagnant or being reduced. Given the unique health challenges of the 21st century, interest in TCM is undergoing a revival. So, the reasons are mentioned here, right? The consumer expectation for care rising, cost are soaring. Cost means the cost of the healthcare or the medical care. And then on the one side, the costs are increasing. On the other side, the national governments are either having a stagnant budget or reduced budget. So if the budget is not increased, how can the expenditure related to health could be met? That would be a question mark. And so there is a need to have a long-term strategy. This report clearly shows that more and more countries are recognizing the role of T&CM in their national health system. We will see by certain figures also. For instance, by 2018, 98 member states had developed national policies on T&CM. 109 had launched national laws or regulations on T&CM, and 124 had implemented regulations on herbal medicine. So now, nation states are increasingly realizing the need of mainstreaming the traditional systems of medicine. And when we were talking about the traditional system of medicine, then one specific type of traditional system of medicine is also the herbal medicine. Many countries have recognized that. Even in India, we have the practitioners of herbal medicine, and that is very accepted. And this is also referred as green gold. Now, there is a very important development here, and that is very uh, intellectually challenging also, because there is further diversification taking place. And because we are studying the things from the context of medical pluralism, so this is very relevant for us also. Now, the World Health Organization's Traditional and Complementary Medicine Unit was renamed to include the term integrative medicine. So, we had the term like traditional medicine, then we had the terms like traditional and complementary medicine, and now there is further extension of that nomenclature, and there is a need to add the term integrative medicine to cover the integrative approaches of both T&CM and conventional medicine. So basically what is happening here, a new kind of convergence is taking place. A new kind of integration is taking place. Now, integration between the traditional and complementary medicine and the conventional medicine. Now, we have stated earlier also that the conventional medicine primarily refers to the allopathic medicine or the modern Western medicine, which is also known as the term biomedicine. But very often, the terms like conventional medicine or orthodox medicine are also used in the literature, right? So there is an increasing realization of integrating these two approaches, and so an integrative approach of both T&CM and conventional medicine is taking place. And for what these things are happening, these are happening for having a policy, knowledge, and practice, right? So some sort of policy, the policy should take care of both aspects of this healthcare practices, and then the knowledge could be used for the expansion of our understanding at a larger level, and also some kind of integration in terms of some of the practices is also possible. The unit is now officially referred as traditional, complementary, and integrative medicine, TCI, right? So what we have seen in this lecture, that there is a practice of indigenous medicine, which is sometimes also identified as traditional medicine, and sometimes that is also identified as indigenous traditional medicine, right? For example, in India, we have naturopathy, we have Ayurveda, we have yoga, we have Unani system of medicine, etc. And in different parts of the world, we are having different types of traditional medicine. Then we talked about complementary medicine, because complementary medicine is something which is making use of these traditional medicine along with the conventional medicine, so that they can have the additional benefit of these things. Then we stated that the traditional medicines are often identified by certain groups as alternative medicine, which is not appreciated by the practitioners of the traditional medicine. And we talked about some kind of underlying conflict or power conflict among those two groups. Then we talked about basically the larger practice of or acceptance for traditional and complementary medicine. And now what is happening, that the word integrative medicine is also getting added, so that the larger nomenclature would become like traditional, complementary and integrative medicine. So this is showing the growth of the healthcare institution at a larger level, and at the same time the way people are getting attached to these things, and also how these systems of medicine can help in meeting the needs of universal health coverage and then the sustainable development goals. So this is the larger context in which we are talking about medical pluralism and emergence of the traditional medicines. I hope this lecture will give you more insight about the kind of medical practices prevailing all around us in different parts of the world. So finally, I have mentioned certain important points related to the recognition of the traditional and complementary medicine in the specific nations or in the policies of the government. For example, in India, we have Ayurveda and Siddha and Unani medicine and yoga and naturopathy and homeopathy, which are recognized by the government. And we have a separate ministry for this also. Then in China, there is acceptance for certain types of traditional medicine like herbal medicine, acupuncture, osteopathy, etc. In the US, there is also a major development in terms of coming into existence of an office of alternative medicine, and then the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. Right? That means different nation states are having different policy and regulation for these systems of medicine. Finally, the think about this problem, we have already understood the theoretical perspectives like the functionalist perspective and Marxist perspective. So here I am giving you one problem. Can you apply your understanding of functionalism and Marxism to explain the importance of traditional medicine? Think about it. And one activity question, which is which traditional medicine you can identify in your home and neighborhood. So try to answer these questions. Take care. We'll meet in the next lecture. Till then, bye.